The Sports Classics cars are quite unique in GTA Online, so here's one fact for every single one of them. The 190Z, despite only having 2 doors, actually has 4 door options in the interaction menu when opening the doors. However, instead of the rear door selections actually opening a rear door, it opens a small panel between the doors and the front fender on either side of the vehicle. The Ardent features the regular logo for its manufacturer, but an alternative version of this logo was located on the vehicle's Prize Ride Challenge advert, where it bears a resemblance to the badge that's used on the Esprit S1, S2, and S3 models. The Casco's rear right indicator is unbreakable, and it will always stay on regardless of if the other lights are turned off. This can easily be seen at night, but is slightly noticeable during the day. The Chebrek is one of the only cars to feature a dash cam built into the vehicle, and this is a reference to the amount of dash cams and the importance of them in Russia. However, on top of that, if you apply the Hardbase, Prolapse, or Rusty Prolapse liveries, it adds a subwoofer within the trunk. The Cheetah Classic has engine cover options that feature a glass panel that you can look through into the engine. These glass panels, however, have no collision and no damage, as the bullets phase right through and damage the engine itself rather than smashing or damaging the glass. The hood on the Coquette Classic lacks an animation when being opened via the interaction menu. Because of this glitch, when you use a clip in the Rockstar editor that includes this vehicle with its hood open or damaged, it will sometimes cause the game to crash entirely. The newer Coquette D1 features an error where players' heads will clip through the roll cage bar when the roof is removed. This is more noticeable on the driver's side, as the shoulder and back of the head both clip with the roll cage. The Deluxo used to have one of the fastest speed glitches in the entire game. The player was able to travel much faster than anything else in the game, including any aircraft. This was made possible by flying really high in the air, disabling the flight mode, and spinning the car onto its roof, and then back over to its wheels as seen on the screen. For some reason, this would cause the vehicle to fly in reverse at a very high speed. The Dynasty or Dynasty has a livery called Horn OK Please, which is a reference to the driving culture in India. Truck, bus, and taxi drivers in India will paint the phrase "Horn OK Please" on the rear of their vehicle to let other drivers know behind them that they can honk their horn if they wish to pass. This is something I wasn't aware of before doing the research for this video, but it's interesting to know. As for the Fagaloa, incorrect logos can be seen, and despite it being primarily a Volcar car, Princip logos can be seen on certain racing-themed liveries. This might just be a sponsor, but it's unique to see. The Frankensteiner has a couple unique features, but there was a unique door closing animation for this vehicle when it first released, where the player used both hands to shut the door when entering it. This was later changed to the standard animation after patch 1.31. However, closing the door still causes the player's hand to glitch out just a little bit. The GT500 only has a primary color available in Los Santos Customs. However, there is a trim color option that isn't accessible to us. This affects the stitching on the lower center of the seats, which is set to black in purchase examples and white in naturally generated examples. The Infernus Classic was seen in Simeon's during the removed business battle, but despite this, it's only appeared in Simeon's dealership once for purchase since he opened in GTA Online. This was on October 5th, 2023. The JB700 actually didn't have its guns shown within the trailer for GTA 5. The mounted guns attached to the vehicle weren't visible in the trailer, but can't be removed in the final release of the game. Many people think that the guns are the only difference between the JB700 and the JB700W. However, the JB700W does have one extra feature, and if you look closely at the dash, there's extra wood paneling on the passenger side near the glove box. The Jester Classic isn't a Sports Classics car, but if you add drift tuning to it, it becomes a Sports Classics car, so I guess we'll include it for that reason. The Los Santos Car Meet Cheetah Classic is not listed as purchasable on Legendary Motorsport on Rockstar Games' Social Club listing, which is odd considering it is purchasable on Legendary Motorsport. The Mamba actually has unique logos. These unique logos are often represented as their own brand instead of the usual manufacturer's logo, which is similar to its real-life model. I debated not including this car in this video because of how much I dislike it, but I thought that'd be unfair. The Manana has a topless version, however, when modifying the car to remove the roof, it removes the windows. With that being said, certain gang and non-gang modified topless Mananos can rarely have side windows still visible, making them a more unique find within the game. The Michele GT's carbon hood is affected by the vehicle's secondary color, making it the only vehicle to have colorized carbon available. Now, I'm not sure what you're going to do with this information, but it does lead to some pretty unique looking colors. The Monroe has a spare tire in its front trunk area. However, this tire is completely different from its stock tires, and it's a Space Saver tire with a wire rim. The Nebula Turbo appears to steer slightly to the left, even when not touching the steering wheel. This is caused by the extremely high toe angle on the front wheels. This isn't the only vehicle to have this feature, but it is interesting to note that it's the only sports classic. The Peyote originally had modifications that included a pair of fuzzy dice on the mirror. However, these dice were removed in the enhanced version and have not been reintroduced since. As for the Peyote Custom, it lacks a feature that the early lowriders all had. If the no roof option is applied, the player will not rest their arm out the side of the window while cruising at low speeds or remaining stationary. The Buckacherz has a unique feature where the only way to change its license plate was by using the iFruit app, but that was discontinued in December of 2023. So you can no longer change its plate, and it's likely due to the fact that both its front and rear plates are stretched to more resemble European plates. The Rapid GT Classic has heavy bumper options on its rear bumper. These are US spec bumpers designed to meet US regulations for cars made in the 60s to the 90s. The retinues fact is probably going to bother you a little bit, but the front left wheel is actually wider than the front right wheel. It's not very noticeable, but if you look closely they are different sizes. As for the Retinue Mark II, the back seat is rendered completely useless due to the harness mounts for the front seat's harnesses. This isn't the only vehicle to have this feature, but it's interesting that it's so prevalent on this car. The Roosevelt has exhaust fumes that are located at the lower back left side of the car. However, the entire exhaust system is missing and was never added. This is likely an oversight from the car's initial release. The Roosevelt Valor, however, does have an exhaust system, but upon closer inspection, it lacks any of its driving pedals. The Sylvester makes a unique engine sound, and upon igniting the engine, it can be heard warming up for a brief moment. This sound is reminiscent to those heard on real-world vehicles using this type of engine. The Stinger has both a roof and topless version. However, on the Rockstar Social Club list, it only lists the roof variant and not the topless variant, suggesting that these are supposed to be the same car with a modification option similar to other vehicles in the game. On the Stinger GT in the enhanced version, when the rear hood is opened or broken off, the Stinger V8 badge remains floating. This is due to the Stinger V8 badging being mapped to the vehicle chassis itself rather than the hood. The Sterling GT had a bug shortly after the Criminal Enterprises update. After the update, all the windows of this vehicle became unbreakable, and therefore the vehicle's occupants were unable to get shot by normal bullets, even if the doors were open or knocked off. The Stromberg is the only vehicle in the game to not have a horn honking animation, so when you honk the horn in this car, your character will not reach for the center of the horn. Perhaps the horn button is located somewhere else due to it being a submersible, but we're not entirely sure. The Swingers livery for Queen and Country is based on the Jaguar from the Austin Powers series. I know it's a simple fact, but there's really not too much interesting about this car fact-wise. If the Toreador switches to submarine mode at the moment of entering the mod shop, it will cause the car and submarine modes to appear on the vehicle at the same time. This takes a lot of practice to get perfect, and even I myself couldn't get it just right. But here's a picture of it for reference. When modifying the Torero, if you add any of the engine cover modifications, it'll render the actual glass pane cover invisible. This can be seen when you open the hood of the vehicle in the interaction menu, and when you walk over the car, you'll climb over the invisible glass panel. Now there's many different versions of the Tornado, so let's just quickly cover the main ones. The regular Tornado, when applied with proper modifications, can resemble Christine, the demonic possessed car from the Christine horror film. As for the convertible Tornado, if you attempt to add chrome on the roof, it will color it black. Moving to the Tornado Custom, should the player opt to convert the convertible variant of the Tornado, any secondary color will be carried over to the accent color, including colors that are not available for said category, such as chrome, matte, or metals. Lastly, the Tornado Rat Rod lacks a radiator, which would cause the car to overheat, and it's also the only non-muscle car to be able to wheelie. The Turismo Classic's tail light sticks out slightly, because they're placed in a way that a small part of the brake light is sticking out from its designed slot, making it appear that they were not small enough to fit into the slots. The Uranus Law Speed stock fog lights don't actually function, but if you apply the Gen 2 or removed intake bumper, they will function, despite them being virtually the exact same. Every other bumper option doesn't have functional lights. When the Viserys was first released, its original top speed unnaturally exceeded some of the fastest cars in the game. This was caused by a suspension glitch which could sometimes occur when upgrading the vehicle. The Zion Classic has a couple unique features, but everyone already knows that when you apply the Waifu livery, it will have a body pillow in the back seat. However, the right side exhaust from the dual stock exhaust options does not match with the original exhaust and lacks the shaking animation. Lastly, the Z-Type didn't really have any issues, bugs, oversights, or unique facts, but many people aren't aware that it was the fastest land vehicle when the game first released, even beating out the Entity and the Adder. If you want to see one fact for every car in other classes of the game, check out that playlist there, and let me know what class we should cover next.